Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast.
Where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and welcome to our 300th episode.
That makes me feel old for some reason.
I was going to say, it's hard to believe that we've done 300 of these episodes.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of people out there been like, you should have stopped after one.
I can remember like 5 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, they, like, we record them, they kind of like go out of my brain after that. Like, they all blend together at this point.
I will say that they have come in handy. You know, we did do an episode on Roy E. Disney, and then it popped up on
we won
Disney
trivia because of that. Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't the only reason why we won, but
that was a big part of it.
it was a part of it. Yeah.
It was a big part. So this is our 300th episode. And you probably heard the intro song was a little bit different. That was a metal electric guitar version by our friend Ethan.
Rock. I think we call it rock.
Rock. Okay. I'm not very good with like genres.
Actually, in your defense, I actually don't know the difference between metal and rock. So he'll have to correct us.
I'm as good at music genres as I am at movie quotes. And it's bad. So, but that is our theme song done by our friend Ethan, who will actually be interviewing us later in this episode. So for a 300th episode, we're getting interviewed. Ethan has like wanted to do this for a while. He's like, I want to interview you guys, like ask you about Disney, like kind of get your thoughts. So it was an interesting like perspective being interviewed, and I feel like they were good questions, and I feel like it was things we don't maybe normally like talk about or bring up, like kind of like our thoughts on like the happenings in like the Disney company, that sort of stuff. So
yeah, it was really interesting. And I mean, Ethan brings an interesting perspective too, because he's not like, he's a Disney fan, but like a casual Disney fan. So like he kind of brings to it like an interesting like perspective of somebody who isn't like a fanatic, but still is like very interested, and like somebody who listens to the podcast and learns and a lot, but also is friends with us in like IRL.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Yeah, it's really it was a fun interview.
It was. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Want to take a look back too on like some of our top episodes, some of those type of things. That have happened over the past 300, but a couple pieces of Disney news to jump into quickly here. So we are getting closer and closer to Lookout Point, Disney's new private island opening up, and Disney released some more information. It seems like it's going to be like a big party. Like I feel like Castaway Cay, there's the characters obviously, but like
it was really low key.
Yeah, there's
like
not much
low key.
Yeah, there's not much entertainment, but they've released some concept art that's basically going to be this like festival of the Bahamas, like filled with dancers and characters, and then there's going to be this whole other area. It looks like you're playing like Limbo with Goofy and like Chip and Dale. So it seems like there's going to be a lot more like interactive.
Limbo with Goofy.
Yeah.
That seems like he's at a very, very strong disadvantage.
Yeah, Goofy's Good Day Limbo, Pluto's Pineapple Ring Toss, Chippendale's Water Brigade. So it seems like there's going to be a lot more like interactivity with the characters. There's going to be like live entertainment on the island, which is awesome. So
what if Goofy loses in Limbo and just breaks the stick?
Well, I think he's like holding it. I think you do the Limbo. I think he's the one kind of like holding the limbo.
No, I want to
stick.
see him doing the limbo.
Yeah, I don't know that you're going to see that. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. And I think this will help differentiate it between Castaway Cay, because like we talked about in our episode, go back maybe a month or so ago, where we recap our trip on the Disney Wish. We recap our day at Castaway Cay. It was a lot of fun. And I think what's special about that is it's its own private island. It has like the snorkeling. It has a lot to do on the island, where Lookout Point, it's like a beach. It's not like Disney doesn't own the whole island there. And so it's probably a smaller footprint. And so I think to differentiate it, they're going to have this live entertainment. They're going to have more interactions with the characters. So it will kind of set it apart. Like you said, maybe Castaway Cay kind of becomes the more like relaxed vibe. Lookout Point becomes, the more kind of party vibe, which makes a lot of sense, because I think a lot of the cruises are going to start going to both. And so you want them to feel a little bit different as well, to kind of make it worthwhile. Like, why am I going to both of these?
Yeah, well, I look forward to it, and I really enjoy some of the concept art that they're coming up with. So it seems vibrant there. like you want to visit.
Yeah, exactly. And then have you seen what Airbnb is doing with these like Airbnb icons? So they built the Up House in real life.
Amazing.
They also built the Xavier Institute, but the Up House they actually have suspended on a crane.
What?
So like when you go stay there, they will lift the house up into the air like from up, not while you're in it, but they'll kind of do that like it's flying away. So it's this whole kind of like promotional stunt, but you can actually stay in these places. It's basically like a lottery raffle thing. Like it's free. Like it's free to stay at the Up House, but you have to submit and kind of tell like why you want to stay there, what makes you like a special traveler, because you know there's only going to be a limited number of people that can do this, and it's obviously to try to like build buzz, which I think it's built a lot of buzz so far. But it just looks crazy. I mean, like the detail of this stuff looks absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, I might have to brush off some of my essay writing skills and apply for one of these. I would love to do the Up House one.
Yeah, what's crazy is like the photographs of these, like the Up House, and then even like of the X-Men, the Xavier Institute, like that one especially, it looks like a comic book. Like the photos don't look real. And so I wonder like how it looks in person. Because obviously like with photos and filters, you can up the contrast and stuff and make it look like very unique, and you can kind of give it a different feel. But even the Up House, like it, Pixar posted pictures of like Up versus real life.
Say that 5 times fast.
And it, and it looks the same, so like I wonder, I think the Carl's house, I think it's in New Mexico, so it's probably like in the middle of nowhere.
I was just gonna ask you, where are these located?
Yeah, that one's New Mexico. I don't know where the other ones are. They have some other ones, like they did Shrek Swamp. I think that was in like.
I feel like I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that was like last year. I think that one was in like the UK somewhere. So they're in like remote places, and you're staying there for a day. But it is interesting. What is kind of interesting with this, kind of a tie into Disney, is over in Disneyland Paris, their Storybook Land Canal Boats ride. It has a very French name, so I'm not even going to try to say it. But they announced that they're adding a new scene based on Up. So they are going to add the Up House in that ride as well. So Up's getting like a resurgence here. Maybe we're going to get an Up 2, even further up.
I was just going to say even more up.
Yeah, but that's going to be a new scene.
No, what if
in
the next
attraction.
one's called Down?
Could be. Up and Down. Mm-hmm. There you go. But it's going to be added to the attraction. I know that's like your favorite ride at Disneyland. The one at Disneyland Paris was actually a lot of fun.
I wonder if they'll put Paradise Falls in the
Oh, if that's like the scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had this like one piece of concept art that was kind of just like the house floating like above some rocks, but maybe that is kind of what they're going for there.
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. But it's cool that that's getting an update. Again, that's over in Paris though.
I wonder if they'll
California.
put little like miniature people in there too.
I think they were in there. I think Carl and Russell were in there.
Because that's my problem with Storybook Canal, is that if you're gonna do miniatures, like populate the miniatures.
Oh yeah, put some people in there.
But there's no people in it, so then it's just like an empty ghost town. Like this, the snap happened, and then everyone instead of it being 50% of the population, it ended up being 100%. So yeah, I think that I'm glad to see that there's going to be some people in that one. I feel like Paris's was better. I don't remember it very clearly, but I do think that theirs was a little bit better.
Yeah, they have like the automated boats. I just feel like their stuff was more like up to date, and I think they were bigger. I think like the displays of them, like the dioramas, were like larger scale.
But everyone's screaming right now. But Disneyland's the original. We know, I know.
All right, so real quick here, like looking back at our past 300 episodes, I looked at like our top 10 downloaded episodes of all time, looked at the top 10 countries that have downloaded episodes from us. So I'm going to have you guess. We'll do countries, because I think trying to guess the episodes will be too hard. So we'll just walk through those. But what countries do you think make up the top 10 list that have downloaded our episode?
The United States.
Yes, that is on the list. That is number 1 on the list.
Oh boy. England.
The United Kingdom is number 2. That is the second most downloaded. Correct.
Okay. All right.
You're going like in order here.
Australia.
Australia's 4.
Oh darn! I skipped 3.
Yep, you skipped 3.
Okay, hang on. Canada.
Canada's 3.
Wait, Australia and Canada are 3?
No, Australia's 4.
Oh,
Yeah, you skipped 3.
okay.
Canada's 3.
Okay. All right, hang on. There's 4 English speaking
You're going like
countries.
right in order.
UK, so that includes like, Ireland.
Yeah,
and,
United Kingdom. Yep.
Okay. All right. South Africa.
No, that's not on the list.
I'm just thinking of places that speak English and like as a native language. All right. I'm just going to start going off the rails. India.
No.
Hang on. France.
France is on there. France is
We have
number
French listeners?
7.
Wow.
France is 7th.
Wow. Hey guys. This is awesome.
So,
Okay.
So you did pretty good. You
Hang
did,
on. I'm going to keep guessing.
Okay.
All right. Anything Brazil.
Brazil is on there. Brazil's number 9.
I was going to say, when you go to Disney World, there are a lot of Brazilians there.
Yeah. So Brazil's 9.
China.
China's not on there.
Okay.
No. So I'll just run through the rest.
Japan.
Okay. Japan's number 10.
Ooh.
So all right. So we got the U.S.
I mean, I got how many of them?
You got most of them. So you got the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia. Then it's Mexico at number 5.
Oh, nice.
Germany at 6. Then France, New Zealand
No way.
at 8. Brazil and Japan. So those are the top 10 countries that have downloaded our episodes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So kind of like all over the world.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for listening, guys. That's amazing.
Yeah. So the top 10 downloaded episodes. So number 10 is the top rated restaurants in Walt Disney World. I think that was a good one.
I feel like our the one when we like did the ranking system for the Marvel movies did well. I don't know.
No, not on there. All right. So number 9 is best attractions in the Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
And then 8 is guess the song lyric.
The one that we just
song stuff does well.
No, that wasn't the one we just did.
Yeah, that one's from 2020. So then we have Magic Kingdom must do, should do, or skip.
Okay.
That was a good one. Best places to stay at Walt Disney World. Then top 10 Walt Disney World planning tips. All right, and then we get back into songs. So top 10 Disney animated movie songs. Then we have one of our Disney decades. So
really?
What decade? So only one of the Disney decade episodes made the top 10. So this is number 3.
I'm
so what
surprised
decade do you think
the
it is?
90s.
No, the 2000s.
Really?
Yeah. So the 2000s episode was our 3rd most downloaded episode.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Because like the 90s had the Renaissance. So
Yeah.
is
Nobody
it like
cares
people
about that.
where people were like, what actually happened in the 2000s? Because I mean, a lot actually, but
Yeah. All right. And then number 2, so this is our only interview on the list. So who do you think of the people we've interviewed made the top 10 downloaded episodes?
that's a hard one. Well, okay, we interviewed both the Bancroft brothers, so I feel like they would be equal. So I'm going to rule them out. I'm going to go with I'm just going to go out of the Joe Corcione. We'll just
that just happened.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no way. Was it Kevin
No.
Lima?
No, it was AJ from Disney Food Blog.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so that was number 2. And then our most downloaded episode of all time is the best Disney animated movie soundtracks.
Thank you, everybody. I produced that one.
And that was like an early one too. That was from September of 2018.
Yes.
So that was like one of like our original early episodes.
We actually, and it's funny that you say that because we actually need to redo that one because since
of course, because it's our best episode.
But since that came out, like we've had other really awesome powerhouse movies like Encanto and
Oh yeah, that was 6 years ago.
and Frozen 2 come out. So my ranking system on that one is completely changed. So yeah, I think that's a good one to revisit.
So songs and like Magic Kingdom Walt Disney World, that's like our bread and butter, it seems like, in terms of episodes. So yeah, so interesting kind of mix.
We didn't have any movie quotes on that one. We got a lot of comments. We got a lot of comments about the movie quotes one and how
all of our friends were texting, Joe, how did you not know any of these?
And then,
I got like 7 of them. I got all of them. How did you not know Elemental for that one?
We were laughing so hard when
Listen,
when you didn't get Wade's quote.
When you're in the chair and you got the bright light shining,
it's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
It's different. When you're sitting at home and you're just like drinking your coffee, watching this, it's so easy to know
You're in
all
your
the
car.
quotes. Yeah, it's so easy to know all these quotes. But when you're in the hot seat, your mind goes blank. That's all I'm saying.
There are times where I like seriously question whether you actually just know the answer and you play up not knowing it, but
No.
you don't.
No, I'm not that good.
I know you well enough to know that you aren't playing
I
it
can't
off.
act that well. So fun kind of looking back across our episodes, and we get into kind of like what our favorite episodes are in our interview with Ethan here. So let's jump into that interview now. All right, so welcome, Ethan. This is a unique position for us. You are going to be interviewing us today, and we have no idea what these questions are ahead of time. So this is going to be fun, I think, all around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ethan is our friend from high school that I don't know why he's still friends with us, but he is. And he's also a listener who is a fan.
And
so,
he really wanted to do this.
Yeah, he really has wanted to do this
us.
interview.
And we're like, 300th episode, this makes sense.
Yeah,
Let's
every
do
time we like hang out, he's like, hey, I want to interview you guys. So this is his big opportunity.
Well, I'm still friends with you guys because I've been trying to get on this podcast. So
Oh
I'm
no!
not sure where our relationship is going after today, but it's
gotta
been a
cancel
good
this.
run. It's been a good run. Yes.
Well, we'll see how tough these questions are. Like if they're not softball
Yeah.
questions, yeah, it might be mutual.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's I thought we'd get the political season started early with some really tough hitting questions, and nothing gets people more in a good mood than some hard hitting questions for
About Disney, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, thank you guys for having me, Angela and Joe, like you said, my good friends from high school, and thank you to.
What did you say? Probably best friends. We should say best.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully Ryan doesn't listen to this, but it doesn't matter. And thank you to the Enchanted Ears audience. And let me just say, I think this is going to be a little bit this is going to be good for your audience, right? Because they're used to Disney fanatics. And as you guys know, everything I know about Disney, I pretty much learned from this podcast. And I'm checking myself because I was worried I was going to spontaneously combust coming on this podcast, having never been to, let me just say it, a Disney theme park.
We're trying to change this, by the way. We're
Yes,
gonna change it soon. We gotta.
And yes, you've been working on me, and I think it's gonna finally happen. But I did dress for the occasion in my Disney black, so we're good to go. We're good to go. So, okay, so 300th episode. How you guys feeling? How you guys feeling just in general about what this is obviously a big undertaking. I think a lot of people want to do YouTube videos and podcasts, but I think there's a lot more work involved than people think. And my guess is the percentage of people that actually go out and execute on that is a very small percentage of the number of people that want to do something like this. So overall, how do you think it's going? And maybe like what was one of the more unexpected things that you've learned from this, and give us an update because we want to know.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is it's 300 episodes, but I think what I find more interesting when I look back on it is that it is basically 6 years that we've been doing this. And when I look back on that, and I kind of think like, oh, could we do this for 10 years? And it's like, well, we're over halfway there. Like there's only 4 years left. And I think when we started, if you told me, you would be doing this 5 years, 6 years from now, I don't know that I would know that, like think that would be true. Like I would kind of probably be shocked by that. So that's probably for me one of the things that, again, I'm just surprised that we're still going and that there's still stuff to talk about.
I was going to say the topics, like that there's enough topics to come up with. And I mean, just to give like, I kind of allude to this every now and again, but Joe does a large portion of this. I mean, whenever we started, I did a little bit more than I do, but Joe does the editing. Joe does a lot of like the prep. He gets like most of the interviews that we have, he edits all of the stuff. Like he puts out all of the stuff on YouTube. I mean, he does a whole lot of this stuff himself. And like, I come on and I smile and I talk about stuff and I read it in advance a lot of times, but like he really like has stuck with it really, really well. And I'm like really kind of astounded by his like creativity when it comes to just like topics and things like that. So
yeah. So if you hate the topics, it's all my fault. But I think why we've kept going is because after a while it just became part of what we did. And I think I've said this before, and it's true. Like, if we didn't have this podcast, we would be talking about the same stuff. We would be planning trips to Disney. Like, Disney is, now that they own so many properties, it's basically in every corner of pop culture. And so, like, you can't almost not discuss it. So it's like, we would have these conversations anyway. So it's just sitting down in front of a microphone and doing it, which I think helps, which I think that's probably a hurdle for a lot of people. If you don't live with the person that you're podcasting with, or it's hard to kind of sync schedules, whereas us it's easy. I think that's why we've been able to keep going.
and it's also like a matter of being able to have like better conversations because a lot of times when it comes to pop culture, like Joe's not just like he's not just like a Disney guy, he's a pop culture guy. He kind of alluded to that, but it is really interesting because like he would kind of come to the table and he'd tell me things and I wouldn't necessarily know about it because I just don't pay as much attention to that. But it's kind of helped us to have better conversations because I will look up stuff. I will like look at the news or pay attention to the news. And so it's interesting because I feel like it's almost, I don't want to say it's a form of couples therapy, but it gives us like something fun to do together. So yeah, I think it's been really enjoyable and I like it.
Cheaper than couples therapy.
Well,
there you go.
That is until we
Well,
pay
actually, that's not true. I mean, I'm sure, particularly with the trips and everything, I'm sure that adds up. But that's the fun part. So,
right. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm gonna obviously the majority I've crafted my own questions for you guys, but we did get some Instagram questions, so I'm gonna sprinkle those in throughout here too. So the first one, and I would have asked this anyways. I think I have asked you guys this in person because I still think it's crazy. But how goofy must you be to run the Goofy?
I'll let Angela answer that because she's actually done it.
Well, it's actually the Dopey, but the Goofy is the Goofy is the half and the full. The Topi tacks on the 5K and 10K, But no. You have to be pretty silly to run the Goofy or the Dopey because it is just like it's a lot of training. And it's a lot of pavement running too. But I also think that it's something that is so different because you get breaks and you get to like see different characters and that is a different kind of race. Like Ethan, you do races. It's a different type of race because there's like fun little stops. It's not just like a water stop. It's like hey, I really like that character. I'm going to stop for a few seconds, get a picture, and then continue to run stop. So it just sort of is a fun way to break up your run.
That's cool. I mean, it's super impressive. And yeah, I do races, but I don't do anything like that.
We're going to pull you in eventually. You will be one of us.
Would be up for the challenge if I can survive it.
You totally could.
I want to see the survival rate for one of those things at Disneyland. It just blows my mind, but that's great. So, okay. So maybe like while we're on the park stuff, a question I had for both of you, and this might be a tough one and you might not be able to narrow it down to one, but what is your all-time favorite Disney park memory that you guys have had over these years at any of the parks you've been to?
I mean, my favorite memory does not include Angela, which I'm sure she's gonna love.
That's all right. That's all right.
So rude.
But I don't remember if I've talked about this before, but my favorite memory was probably a few years ago when I was in Florida. I was down there for work, and so I went to the parks kind of on a solo trip. But my mom had a ticket from when I was a kid, and from like 1995, 96 or something like that, when the tickets did not expire.
Oh, yeah.
So I had one day left on it, and I went to use it, and I had to go up to guest relations because it was like an old ticket, and they were like, I was like, I want to use this ticket, and they're like, okay, no problem. And they looked at it and saw it was a kid's ticket, and then they were like, where's the child? Like, where's the kid for this? And I was like, it's me. Like, this ticket's 25 years old. It's me. And the woman was like, oh my gosh, like, and started laughing, and like had to call like a manager or something to get approval or whatever. But they honored the ticket. And so it was just like a free day in the parks. And I couldn't go to Animal Kingdom because that park didn't exist when that ticket was there. But I went to all of the other 3 parks, and it was just so comical because I went in and it was like, this is my kid ticket that probably cost like $20, you know, back in the 90s. And the cast member was like, where's the kid you're trying to bring on? I'm like, this is, you know, it was me back then. And just to kind of have like that free day at the parks, is I think something I'll always remember. It was so much fun. I don't really remember anything like specifically that I rode, but it was just kind of like, I remember it was a nice day.
Like the situation.
Yeah, it was just like the situation, and just kind of like going back to like, hey, I'm a kid again, just enjoying myself at the parks.
Yeah, I mean,
that's cool. Angela, just know, I know you weren't included in that, but this is a safe space for counseling. So I'm glad Joe was able to get that out. So
it is a good story. I'll forgive him. I have like a lot, and then the more I think about it, I come up with more. But
is it running the dopey?
You know what? Like I don't think it's not running the dopey for me. I don't think. Like the one thing there's just different things. Like our encounter with Chippendale, I think, was a really fun one. We've had other character encounters that are really awesome. I always enjoy going to see Lieutenant Agnon and just like yelling for the order, and you know, our time on the Star Cruiser, was really great. But I don't know if I've ever shared this one. This one does not include Joe, but it's really short. And then I have one other one. But one time I was at Disney by myself. This was when I was coaching 3v3 soccer. So I had a team of 9-year-olds, and they were involved in like the national tournament that was at the ESPN zone. And I was in line for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and there was a couple in front of me that were from somewhere in South America. I think that it was like Brazil or something. And since I was alone, we kind of struck up a conversation, and they had an apple. They were eating apples and offered me an apple, which was really hilarious. So
your favorite memory is taking food from strangers.
Yeah, but taking food from strangers on a Snow White ride, like there's just something about that. And another really funny one was at Disneyland when we were with Jennifer and Kiefer, and we were waiting for the parade, and Jennifer and I really wanted to ride Indiana Jones. And Kiefer's like, you don't have time. And Joe's like, you don't have time. So we both start running across the park. We get there, and then we look down at our clock, like our watches, and realize, no, we don't have time. So then we had to run back to try to make it for the parade in time. And it was just like this whole...
Well, then you pretended that you rode it. Because when you came back, we were like, how did you ride it that fast? We're like, did you ride? We're like, oh yeah, totally. We read it. And we're like, there's no way that happened. And then eventually you're like, oh yeah, we didn't.
Yeah.
But like you tried to pretend like we made it. Like we had enough time.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Because it was just like the whole time, like you and Kiefer were just like, no, you're not gonna make it. And we're like, we're gonna make it. Dinosaur reference. Yeah. But yeah.
Very cool. Okay, let's go back to Instagram questions. I feel like this might be like an inside joke kind of thing because I don't really understand it. But why is Donald number 1?
I don't think this is so much an inside joke as there is this large contingent of people that think Donald Duck is the absolute best. And Angela is one of those people. I am not. But this is like the fandom. This is the new thing that Donald Duck's number 1. Everywhere you go in the parks, he's always like throwing up Donald Duck number 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You can explain why he's the best.
Yeah. He does this in the park, and he'll go like number 1 Duck. Like, and a lot of times the character handler will even like, he'll throw up the finger, and they'll say, not that one, but he'll throw up the number one finger, and they'll be like, yeah, Donald Duck number 1. And so like it's kind of become a thing. We've seen it a couple times now. So
then I just tell him like I like Goofy better, or I like Mickey better, and he gets all mad at me.
Yeah, it is pretty funny because Donald's fun to mess around with. But I like Donald just because he has an ornery side, and I understand that very well because I definitely do too. And I think that as like kind of compared to Mickey, who is very often like the paragon of goodness, and almost he's not always perfect, but I like that Donald is very flawed and he's just funny to me. So, and I think he's just really cute, and so that's why I like him the best.
I think what's interesting though is because when we just recently went down and we saw the Figment meet and greet, Figment was doing the same thing where he was putting up saying he was number one. And so now I wonder, is this going to become a thing now that every character is just going to do, hey, I'm number one now, I'm number one? Because I think it's become so popular with Donald. Like he was like the first person to do it, but I feel like it's growing in popularity that like now everybody knows, oh, hey, Donald Duck, number one duck, number one duck. And now it's like Figment's doing it. Like, are you going to have everybody kind of doing this at the end of the day?
And I want you to know that in the photos with Figment,
I did not
say number one. I gave a thumbs up, not a number one.
Sounds like there's some pretty intense character competition going on right now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. There is.
That's good. That's good. Healthy competition. Nothing wrong with that. Just because I like seeing you guys struggle with some of these questions, and I think this is going to be a tricky one for you too. So we've talked about your favorite park memory, but going back to your 300th episode, what's been your favorite episode you've done so far?
That's so hard.
Yeah, I was worried you're going to ask that because I will be honest, I kind of forget what we've talked about.
Oh, I got this one on lock.
Often, like, we record them, we post them, and it's kind of like they're out of my mind almost immediately. So go ahead. I'll try to think of one.
The interviews are always my favorite because I like talking to other people and learning, their kind of perspectives on things. So just to name a few of the ones that we've done, we did Tom and Tony Bancroft on separate interviews, which were they're the twin animators that also were the character designers of Pumbaa and Mushu.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. We did one with Kevin Lima, who was the executive producer of that, and also Enchanted
and Tarzan.
And Tarzan. We talked to Don Munchow, who was the guy who ran from Disneyland to Disney World. And he also is like a diabetic. So it was just really interesting hearing his journey. And then also, what we did, a week or two ago with Joe Corcione, that was just a perfect intersection for me between my interest in running and in Disney, and getting a chance to kind of geek out about both of them at the same time. Like if I didn't have a Disney podcast, I would love to have a running podcast. So those I think are some of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean the interview ones are definitely good for all the reasons you said. I think I tend to like to like whenever it's about something new that we didn't know about. So either like some sort of like history about the parks, or when we go and we do something new, like the cruise or Adventures by Disney, when we're like recapping it because it's something different. And I just kind of like trying something new, seeing Disney from a different perspective. Or learning about the history, about how the parks work, or why something is what it is. I don't necessarily have a specific one that like comes to mind, but
Adventurers Club comes to mind for me, like in that kind of vein. And that was one that you asked me to research, and I was like, I don't want to research this, and I gave you a hard time because I'm a brat. And then part of the way through researching it, I just got super interested in it, and I remember just really enjoying talking about it because I'm like, this was a really cool experience that Disney did, and I really wish that it hadn't closed down and we would have gotten a chance to experience it. So yeah, I think that's a good point, like when we talk about those experiences. And it's kind of a nice way to like info dump, because then I could always go back and try to like relive our experiences.
Okay, so recent kind of Disney controversy that I wanted to ask you guys, because I read his book. I like Bob Iger a lot. They had that little road bump with his his replacement. He's back. He's saying, okay, I'm going to be here a little bit longer. Who do you guys want to see take over the reins when Iger's time finally arrives and he fades into the magical kingdom sunset for real this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would say Josh D'Amaro.
I was going to say probably Josh D'Amaro if I had to off the top of my head.
Just because that's probably the only name most people know. I think that's probably the biggest issue with Bob Iger's replacement, or this search that they're having for his successor, is that he's taken so long that all of the names people are familiar with left the company because he took too long. He kept staying, he kept extending. And now they're at this point where, there have been throwing some names around. I think reports are they're down to like 3 or 4 people internally. It's basically the guy that runs ESPN, the woman, she runs, I think, TV. Josh D'Amaro's in there, and then there's one other person. And I think what's tough is if it's not Josh D'Amaro, it's going to be a name a lot of people don't know. Not that that's not the right pick necessarily, but I think you're going to have a lot of Disney fans in the same way they kind of turned on Chapek because he was seen as this guy that was nickel and diming people. He was cutting everything at the parks. He wasn't, up for like entertainment, like expanding IP, that sort of stuff, that the fans kind of turned on him. That I think you run the risk of that, of like, once they name the successor, they're going to kind of have to spend the next year and a half, 2 years almost doing this PR spin to like, hey, this is why you should like this person. This is why this person, gets Disney, gets the vision, that sort of thing. I think it'll be interesting. I hope they just pick somebody that can kind of continue on in the way. I think they need somebody that is more a creative visionary. I think, Chapek was definitely more business sense.
I mean,
I don't think that works as well as the top. At the end of the day, it's a creative company. You have to come out with movies, new IP. That's what fuels everything else. Whereas I think he kind of took the approach of, we need to be better at business, and not necessarily worrying about the product they were producing.
And I mean, just to give Chapek just a little bit of credit, Galaxy's Edge happened not Galaxy's Edge, I'm sorry. The Galactic Star Cruiser happened under him, which was, I think, one of the more successful things that Disney has done. So he didn't do
commercially. It wasn't. I mean, it only lasted.
Right.
Year,
but I'm just saying, like, as much like, Disney people tend to dump on him, he did have that at least.
Well, he ran the parks. I mean, he definitely he ran the parks for a while. I do think it was, though, he had a view of just more.
Yeah, it was more business.
More business sense of it, and I think now what you're seeing is they are getting back to. I think D23 this year, we're going to get a lot of announcements around the parks. Things seem to be getting in place. They're filing permits. Stuff's getting moved around. They seem to be getting back to, hey, we're going to expand the parks. They're getting. People don't like sequels, but Moana 2, I mean, they're going back to like surefire winners to turn the narrative around that, hey, Disney movies aren't good anymore. Disney's not investing in the theme parks anymore. And they're starting to turn that around, which I think is going to be good. Then for the next person that comes in, they can kind of go on an up wave as opposed to a down wave.
Now, if we can only get them to stop making live action films and go back to animation, then I would be really happy.
That's, interesting you say that, Angela. One of the other questions I had for you that kind of rolls into that is, and this is not just Disney, this is like every production company, I feel like, right now, but everybody's doing remakes right now. Mm-hmm. And I think some of them have been pretty good, some of them not so good. But are there any remakes you would like to see Disney make that they haven't done? Or conversely, are there some that you think they should never touch again? They're perfect the way they are. Leave them alone.
I think that Tarzan might lend itself kind of well to a live action film. So I would be kind of interested in that, or something like older that they maybe haven't done yet. I'm trying to think of an example of that, but I feel like some of the older Disney films relied so heavily on, hey, look at this new animation that we're doing. In the stories weren't as strong, so that there are places where they can really actually step the story up. Whereas there are some movies that I think, like The Lion King, that I felt like was relatively pointless for them to redo, because I think that the animated version is so beautiful, and then for them to throw some CGI lions on that sometimes look real, but sometimes their faces look like they're a taxidermied lion. That's like, it falls into that uncanny valley sort of for me. and it's something that I don't need. Although there were some like aspects and elements that I did like Nala getting a little bit more of like a story, like when she sneaks away. I liked that part. But yeah, I think Tarzan is maybe my answer. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with Tarzan is Disney. Like, there have been live action Tarzans. Like, Disney doesn't like own that necessarily.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, but you got to throw that Phil Collins in there. He did so good.
he did.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, okay, let's go back to an Instagram question. And I think this is a really good one. So, who are your favorite meet and greets of all time, and are there any you would love to see?
I mean, I think you mentioned earlier Chippendale.
Chippendale is always solid.
A great meet and greet. They work well,
Together.
especially together, and when you have a couple or you have like a group of people, like they do a good job of the two of them interacting with the two of us individually and together. They're always trying to like steal you from me and stuff like that, and just kind of like playing that up that like we're together. That sort of thing. So I think for me, they probably come to mind as just consistent meet and greet that's always good no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you agree or you have somebody else.
I think Chippendale. For me also, Donald Duck is another one, just because I mean, again, he's number one duck. But because I love him so much, and then I'll always go up to him and say, I love you, Donald. I'll say, you're better than Mickey. And I'll say things like that. And then like he loves to hear that. So then he gets very excited, and he usually gives us a really like fun character experience. And then you usually will say something about not liking him as much. And I think we have like even a picture of him like kind of doing one of these at you because you made comment about how you like Mickey better. So I mean, those are always really fun.
The best ones are always ones that you know enough about the character that you can kind of play off of what they're giving you, whether it's a face character that can talk to you or not, like a Donald Duck or like a Chippendale, but that you know enough that you can kind of like carry on a conversation and have something, give them something to kind of play back with you. Like if it's a character you really don't know a lot about, like a lot of the characters at the Run Disney events are like old characters. Now you're not really interacting with them, obviously, but if they were in the parks, some of them are like, I don't even know who you are, so like it wouldn't be a good interaction. I'd go up, take a picture and move on. But versus, like, hey, you like Donald Duck, we like Chippendale, like it helps that interaction,
Right. And for characters that I would love to see, I would love to see like a Scar. I really think that would be a really interesting, like more of the villains. I've seen Hades before. Hades was at one of the Run Disney events. So that was really interesting. I'd like to see like more of a character meet and greet there. But yeah, Scar, the hyenas, that's the one that I was really hoping to see at the Lion King, Hakuna Matata run, which they didn't bring out. But just some of those like older 90s characters that they don't bring out as much, or maybe even don't have. So I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, not necessarily a specific character, but more of like the more technologically advanced characters. Like the talking Mickey was great that they don't have anymore, or like what they do with like Kylo Ren and the Stormtroopers, or over in Disneyland, like Iron Man, like the talking characters that can interact with you, that it seems so seamless and real of how they respond. More like that, I think those are the characters I kind of like, or like more like villains. Like bring out some like Marvel villains, like give us a Thanos or something. Like
Thanos would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I'm also looking forward to, and I hope we get a chance to see it because they have it at the Pixar Fest. But Talking Doug, I would love, like with the collar, and he like has little phrases. I don't know. I think he would be very cute too.
Okay, very cool. Well, how about this one? This is a theoretical for you guys, okay? You're trapped on a desert island, and you can pick one Disney character to stay on it with you. Who are you going with? I feel like there's a very easy answer here, but you guys, I want to hear what you're thinking.
Is the easy answer Captain Jack Sparrow?
Captain Jack Sparrow if you're looking for fun, or Elizabeth if you're looking to get off.
Well, I think Captain Jack.
Well, yeah, he has the human hair from his back.
No, I think Captain Jack.
True.
He's escaped from islands multiple times. I mean,
Yes.
that's the guy you want. He knows how to escape from being stranded on islands.
Allegedly, the only one we actually witnessed it happening with was Elizabeth saving him.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay.
is
I mean,
true.
I
It is
agree.
true.
I mean, you gotta.
She
go
burns down
Jack
the
Sparrow
whole
all
island,
day.
though.
She does, yeah.
See,
that's
on a
true.
quick, like a really quick, like knee jerk reaction, and this is so like it's weird. I was thinking Mushu because Mushu is a built-in fire starter, so you know he can do that. He could kind of pump you up, get you excited. I think he might get a little annoying after a while, but I think that he might be like his abilities might be kind of useful. You might be able to like, I don't know.
I mean, if we're including Marvel, you could go Doctor Strange, and he could just
He just portal you to somewhere else.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
out.
that's the correct
Absolutely.
answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is
Nice.
the
Well, all right, guys.
Well, who
so,
did you think was the right answer?
Oh, like I said, to
Jack's
me,
there.
it's like
Captain
if
Jack.
it's going to be
Okay.
a party, you're going to go Jack, and if you actually want to get saved, you go Elizabeth Swan. You know,
Okay.
I just think that's, and they're both good answers. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
I may not want to leave an island if I got to hang out with Jack Sparrow all day. So, who needs saving?
Right.
Except for when
I
you
think
get
we're on the same page.
incredibly dehydrated from all the rum.
Well, that's true. That is a good point. But you won't know what's happening, so you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But okay, well, my last question for you guys, and thank you again for letting me do this, and I think it's been hopefully it's been enlightening to the Enchanted Ears audience, or E squared as I've started calling them.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We don't have.
Yep.
That's the one thing we do not have any sort of like nickname or anything like that. So E squared. Maybe that's what we'll use for the next
squared?
300. Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
And that was going to be my question. What are the plans for the next 300 to year 10? What are you going to do differently? What are you going to do the same? You got any big plans in the works that you can reveal to us now? Or, I mean, I'm sure you've got there may be some non-disclosure agreements in place for confidentiality reasons, and we can't know everything, but, you got to give us something. Give us a teaser for the next 6 years.
I mean, dream obviously would be to get on like the media list.
Yeah,
to
that
get,
would be
like,
really cool.
Invited to, any of these openings. I mean, I think that's anybody, any of the Disney podcasters, bloggers, vloggers, whatever, obviously getting invited on the media list is something. So like that would be really cool just to kind of like be one of the first ones
to get to see and experience different things.
To be there and to kind of experience it and bring that in. But I think this year, obviously, we've started on YouTube, so we've posted everything on YouTube. That's kind of been the big push, just to have a video option for people and to try to reach a larger audience. So I think it's just kind of more the same. Again, like we started at the beginning of this, that I'm surprised there's still so much to talk about, that every week there's something new and something fresh. And that just, again, it goes back to Disney always having something new and something fresh. And I think the next 5 to 10 years between Disneyland forward, I think there's going to be big expansions at Disneyland. I think, again, we're looking at some big announcements for Walt Disney World, which are going to take 5+ years to build. And so I think there's going to be a ton of stuff to talk about. And it feels like we're going into almost another like Renaissance era. Like it feels like the past 3 or 4 years haven't been that great.
Pattern.
Yeah, haven't been that great to be a Disney fan, and I think it feels like the tide's starting to turn. Now, obviously, they could not
do any of the things we think.
The past couple years, the
a lot of
announcements
blue
haven't
sky.
been great. Yeah, but I think if they deliver on some of this stuff, it's good. It's going to be a great time to be a Disney fan.
Yeah. So for me, I'm really excited about, and we talk about Disney primarily, but every now and again we will wander off the path and head over to Universal. I'm really excited for Epic Universe opening, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to go and talk about that. I'm really excited. I'm excited for any travel opportunities. I'd love to do another Adventures by Disney and go experience another culture. I really liked that cultural aspect of it. I would love to go over to the Chinese parks. Those are the last 2 parks that we haven't been to, and I would love to be able to go and talk about those. Also, something that I just kind of sort of came up with, but sort of not right now. We actually, we filmed some stuff whenever I trained for the Dopey and then ran the Dopey, but we never released any of it. And I think that we've been sort of talking about how this next time, like whenever you and I are training for the Dopey, I would actually really think it would be cool to do an almost sort of unedited vlog of maybe some of the stuff going on with our runs and like post run, something that's not going to sap up a lot of your time, but I think that that's a really interesting journey to talk about, and I think it would be a cool thing to kind of throw up there on our YouTube channel, because I do think that there are probably people that do wonder, like you asked, like what kind of goes through your mind, is it difficult? And that training process, you know, coming from somebody who's done it before, but then somebody who you haven't run a marathon. So it's an interesting thing. And there's a lot of like mental ups and downs that come with it when you go to like, hey, I've run the most I've ever run before. And then that feels really good, but then also, wow, this is really tiring and it's requiring a lot of my time. But yeah, so I think that would be kind of an interesting thing for us to do. And I look forward to that, because I think it's an interesting experience.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool to see that, and like you said, maybe branch out to occasionally some other parks, and you know, I mean, it really does sound like the possibilities are kind of endless and limitless, and so yeah, I think that's great, and we'll all be tuning in to see what you guys are doing. But that kind of wraps up the questions I had. Joe, Angela, if you guys want to kind of take us home, but again, you know, thank you for having me, and it's been a blast doing this.
Awesome. Thanks,
Perfect,
Ethan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Hey, will you still be our friend after this?
100%. Yes.
Whew, I was really
We're
worried.
good. We're good. We're good.
That was the big question of the day.
It was.
I'm coming over tomorrow. Be ready for me.
Please do.
I know I'm 7 hours away, but you know, flights are easy to get. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Want to thank Ethan again for interviewing us, and for kind of producing, again, the intro song.
Yeah,
so if
really
you're
good.
interested, Ethan does have like a YouTube where he has some of his music and stuff. We'll put a link to that in the description below if you're interested in listening to that. So want to thank everybody again for listening this week, for however many episodes of the past 300 you've been listening.
Yes.
If you've not done so, please leave us a rating or a review, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.